What's up everybody, it's Cody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If you've been watching these videos before, you know that I'd like to do deep dives on what it's like to work, eat, sleep, live, and play here along the Wasatch Front. In this video, we're gonna be talking about what it's like to live in Sandy, where you need to live in this area, what you need to know about the crime, about the schools, about the cleanliness of it, about the job opportunities, the housing costs. We're gonna talk about all of that here in this video. So this is gonna be a very specific niche down type of video about Sandy. If you're looking at any of the surrounding areas around this, then this is something that's going to be helpful for you. We'll kind of cover a little bit outside of the city limits as well, but we're going to mostly focus on what the different parts of Sandy are and what you need to know. There's a lot of different nuance to the area and a lot of different things that are going to come into play, whether you're looking on the west side, the east side, north, south, whatever it may be. There's going to be some differences there. So with that being said, let's jump into my screen here and take a look at this. So with that being said, guys, as always, if you're looking to make a move here to Utah, whether you're looking in Sandy or in any of the surrounding areas, northern Utah, southern Utah, please reach out to me, call, text, or email me anytime. I have hundreds of people reach out from videos just like this, and I would love to hear from you as well. With that said, let's jump on my screen here and take a look at what we got. Okay guys, so as we zoom in here a little bit here, you can see where the city limits of Sandy actually are. Everything inside of this red dotted line is going to be considered Sandy. It is definitely not an area that is going to be, very cut and dry about what different areas are included versus not included. There are a couple of spots such as White City right here in the middle, as well as Granite up here to the east side, that are technically unincorporated areas. If you said, hey, I live in White City or I live in Granite, people will probably know what you're talking about. But overall, generally you just say, I live in Sandy, here's roughly where I'm at. You'll see another little batch of like all these different places like this where, these are kind of like little neighborhoods or sections that are maybe not incorporated in Sandy. I don't know why the map actually shows that. I'm sure there's some type of reason, but it's not relevant for this video. So just go ahead and ignore these other red areas that are kind of outlined, here in this northern area. There's a couple down here south and east as well. But for the most part, everything inside of here is going to be considered Sandy. White City is not technically a city. It's unincorporated, but it's definitely part of Sandy. Same thing with Granite. So let's start over here with the west side of town. Actually, we're going to start up here north. We're going to start here on the north end of town. So this is going to be Fort Union. This is going to be in Conwood Heights, right next to the I-215 corridor. If you've done any type of shopping on the east side, there's a pretty good chance you've done it here in the Fort Union area. It's a very central area. It's very central to the center of the valley as well as to the mountains. You can see that you come up here, you just come up on I-215, jump over here onto Wasatch Boulevard, this road right here, and that will take you up into the mountains on the east side. So this is Fort Union, just on the north side of the Sandy city limits. Over here on the north side, most of the houses here are going to be they're going to be like in their 60s and 70s. You're going to find a little bit older houses here kind of on the north end. As you move further south, you can find homes that are built late 70s, 80s, 90s. And as you move down here south of Dimple Dell Regional Park, which we'll talk about here in a minute, you can see, newer homes down in this area, probably in the, maybe late 70s still for this area, but definitely 80s, 90s, 2000s, even 2010 is much more common. So as you move from the north side of town to the south side of town, it is going to get newer. You're going to find better floor plans generally. You're going to find bigger houses, and you're going to find that things are just a little bit newer, a little bit nicer, and a little bit more, let's say, higher end on the south end of town. Again, generally speaking, the further east you go in town and the further south you go, the nicer it's going to be. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at Sandy city limits. Over here, there are some nice areas, right? If we come over here to the west hand side, this is going to be west over here by River Oaks Golf Course. So there's this little cutout here on the west side of the freeway that is still considered Sandy as opposed to like South Jordan. But for the most part, Sandy does kind of encompass this area. Generally speaking, right here, this 89 route is going to be State Street. Generally speaking, that's going to be a part of town that is, it is nice. It is a great place to go. It's very safe still. It's very, there's a little crime. It's kind of a newer part of town. There's a big shopping center. We've got Southtown Mall that is just right here. All of this yellow space right here is Southtown Mall. So there's a lot of shopping right there. There's numerous restaurants and whatnot. So that's a great area to be and to go for shopping. But generally, as far as housing is concerned, you want to try and stay further east. The housing around this area is not great. You can find some pockets where it's pretty good, or you can find some decent houses. You can find something that will, work in a good price range. But for the most part, if you're looking in Sandy, I'd recommend going further east. Coming up here over to the east-hand side of town, anything along this eastern bench is going to be a great fit for your higher end homes, right? This is where you're going to find your bigger 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 plus square foot homes, especially up here on the benches of the mountains. If we actually switch over to this view, might be a little bit more clear. You can see that the mountains come down right here. You've got the canyon. Anything along this eastern bench all the way down, even down into here in this area, is going to be very, very nice, right? You're looking at 800,000, a million, 1.2, even 2, 3, 4 million dollars in this area on this eastern bench. This is where you're going to get the views, the privacy, big trees, built out neighborhoods. So that's what really has the appeal for this particular area. You are also incredibly close to the canyons, right? You've got Big Cottonwood Canyon, which is this one right here. And then you have Little Cottonwood Canyon, which is this one right here. And there's numerous hiking. You can see all of the hiking trails that are up this canyon, and this will also take you to Snowbird and to Alta. So if you're interested in doing any type of skiing or snowboarding, then that's going to be very important for you, having easy access to Little Cottonwood Canyon. Next up, let's talk a little bit about White City. So White City is kind of its own little area within, the central part of Sandy. I don't know why it's not actually incorporated into the Sandy city limits. I think this was originally a very big planned unit development. It was so big that they tried to make it into their own little city, such as Daybreak. If you're familiar with Daybreak, I think Daybreak's kind of gone that same route where it's almost big enough to be its own city, but it's small enough that it still kind of fits in the other city limits. So I think that's kind of what happened here with White City. When they first initially built all of these homes, it was kind of considered to be its own planned unit development. They were trying to build more affordable homes by going a little bit smaller, a little bit more basic in this area. So White City, although it's not a bad part of town to live, especially compared to other parts of Salt Lake, as far as Sandy is concerned, generally people will try to stay out of it. If you're trying to stay on the east side, you're looking for an entry-level home, then White City could be a good fit for that. But again, if you can, I generally recommend people to stay outside of that if possible, just because you're going to find a little bit bigger, nicer, better homes outside, whether you go east a little bit or you even come up here north into this Creek Crest, Sherwood Park area. This is where I actually used to live, just right here on the north, on these border limits, just right here north of Flatiron Mesa. But I used to live right here, and this kind of area is actually generally a little bit nicer. You're going to get similar size homes. You're going to be still in the same school district. You're going to have, a little bit nicer neighborhood in this area. So that's what I usually recommend for people if they're looking at going to the Sandy area. So let's go a little bit east of the White City area. You can actually see that we've got Dimpledale Regional Park right here. This actually runs all the way down through White City as it is. Actually, this comes down. This is a big recreational park that they've left here. You can see that it kind of is an extension of the canyons, right? You have Bell Canyon trailhead right here, but this canyon kind of comes down right here, and then it turns into Dimpledale Regional Park. Let's actually click on this. We're going to take a look at what we have here. The Dimpledale Regional Park, let's show some photos here. Dimpledale Regional Park is basically just a big recreational area. You can see that there's a trail that runs all the way down through the middle. People can take their horses here. It is an equestrian area. There's a couple of neighborhoods within Sandy that are actually very horse friendly. They have horse property here, so people will take their horses over here and ride them through the trail. It's a very, very pretty area. This looks like it's actually a little bit further up north, up into the canyons. And then this is Dimpledale. So it's a little bit hard to see on these pictures. Let me see if there's a better picture here. But this is basically just a big recreational area where you can go hiking, you can go walking, you can take the kids in there, you can take your horse in there, your dog, and just basically go enjoy that space. So come back here to Sandy, search this again so we can kind of pull up the map. You can see that Dimpledale Regional Park is actually a very, very big part of Sandy overall. You've got this big, massive regional park that runs right through pretty much all the way from the base of the canyon almost to, almost to State Street. It comes down here to like 700 East. There's a little section right here that you can see that kind of cuts through. So it does almost go down all the way to State Street down here on the 89. So that's Dimpledale Regional Park, a place that you might frequent at some point during the process. Let's move a little bit further south and talk about the south end of town. Now, I haven't mentioned this yet in the video, but I actually live in Sandy myself. I live here on the south end of town, and I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic area. I grew up on this house right here. Actually, we backed up to Dimpledale Regional Park. So for me, I spent a lot of time out there in this area. I actually grew up in this house right here. I think it's, yep, this one right here. I actually grew up in that house, so that's kind of cool that we backed up to the regional park. Now, I actually ended up living in Sandy till my teenage years, moved out of the city at that point, moved a little bit further north. Then when I, went up, grew up, got a job, went to college, whatever, I lived all around Salt Lake County for a number of years after that. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, ended up back in Sandy just because I like it so much. You get a little bit more character in the homes. You get a nice, mature, quiet neighborhood. You get the access to the canyons, and you just get a little bit, kind of more of a comfortable feel. It's easy to get outdoors. It's easy to go and enjoy yourself outdoors in this area. So, that's why I personally love Sandy. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I live here myself, but I think it's an overall great city to live in. As I mentioned, I live here on the south end of town. it's absolutely fantastic. You can get bigger homes here. Like I said, 3, 4, 5,000 square feet homes is not uncommon in this area. You are going to be looking at better school districts or better, it's the same district, but it's going to be a better school here on the south end of town. So that's something to kind of keep in mind if you're looking at schools. Definitely staying further south is going to be a little bit better. And as far as like crime and safety, all of that's going to be pretty good throughout Sandy as it is. Like I mentioned, White City kind of gets a little bit of a bad rap. There's a higher level of crime in that area, but it's not like it's crazy. It's not like it's going to be as bad as what you see in downtown Salt Lake. So it's still much better than the city itself. But White City would be kind of considered like the rougher side of town, let's say, as opposed to like going east or going south in the Sandy city limits. So crime's going to be very low. Schools are very good. It's very safe. It's very clean. Overall, just a really great place to live. Just a quick reminder, guys, as always, please reach out to me. Call me, text me, or email me if you're looking at making a move here to Utah, you already live here, and you want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Please reach out. My information's here on the screen. You can call me, text me, or email me anytime. I love hearing from you guys, and I cannot wait to hear from you who's watching this video right now. I love hearing from you guys, and I love helping you through this process. So please reach out to me. The next thing I want to talk about here is going to be housing prices here on the south end of town. Actually, let's talk about housing prices all across the area. So up here in, Sandy is really one of those areas where it can vary quite a bit. You can find condos, townhomes, and single family homes that are kind of considered more entry level, at least for the area, that are going to start, probably about 400 to 500,000, depending on how much space there is, how big, and what type of home it is. Obviously, condos and townhomes are going to be a little bit cheaper than single family homes, but you're generally starting about 400,000 to 500,000 here in Sandy. However, as you go further south or east, you can find little pockets where it's going to get much more expensive. The median home price for Sandy is about $650 to $700 for a typical home in the city limits, but it can very easily go up to $800, $900, $1,000, $1 million, 1.5, even 2 million plus here in the area. So it is a very nice place to live. I personally really like that fact because you can get neighborhoods where you're going to have homes that are equivalent to what you have around you, but then just outside of that, a couple blocks away, you're going to have homes that are going to be a different neighborhood, right? So it's kind of a great area to get just a good mixture of homes, good mixture of people who live there. It's not like it's this, super rundown area or super exclusive area or just a very, middle of the road type area. There's actually a good variety here in the area. And I think that's something that's really important for kind of the longevity of a particular city and for it to stay a desirable place to live. So whether you're looking at, moving here to Sandy or you're looking at moving to Draper or some of the surrounding areas, the reasons why you would live in Sandy, if you're not from here, you're not familiar with this, some of the reasons you'd live here is one, like I mentioned, access to the canyons. If you want to go hiking, you want to go, climbing, you want to go skiing, snowboarding, anything like that, the access to the canyons is going to be unparalleled, right? This is pretty much as close as you can get, especially here on this east side. This is as close as you can get to Little and Big Cottonwood Canyons, even if you're up here in Cottonwood Heights, and there's going to be everything that you need to do with that. So that's going to be a big reason why people move to Sandy. You're also going to be looking at, if you like kind of an older style home, 70s, 80s, 90s type home, then this is where you're going to find it. You're going to find that in Sandy and possibly even Draper here to the south. If you're looking for a new home, you want new neighborhood, you're going to want to go out west, right? I personally am not a huge fan of that just because I like having bigger trees. I like having it feel a little bit more built out, a little bit more green. And so that's why I like the east side personally. Not that the west side of town is not nice. There are times where I'm like, man, a new house does sound kind of cool because I live in an older house built in the 1979. So, I live in an older house, which is fine by me. I really like it, but there is still kind of that appeal of a new home, a new neighborhood, and something that just doesn't have problems, right? So there's pros and cons to both. But if you're looking at Sandy or Draper, there's a good chance that you're going to be working here in this tech area, this tech corridor. I think there's going to be a lot of growth in Sandy and Draper. You can see that pretty much everything is built out. There are going to be some lots, more so here in Draper than you have in Sandy. But if you look at this, there's really no land left to build on. If you find a place to build, you're looking at 1 lot, 2 lots, maybe 3 or 4 lots at most, but pretty much everything is built out, which means at this point, everybody's going to have to go in, buy an existing home, remodel it, and that's going to push prices up over the long run. Once the land is gone and there's nothing left to build on, then prices start climbing a little bit quicker because you start to see more and more people who want to live there but have no option but to purchase an existing home and go in and remodel it up to today's standards. So I think there's going to be a lot of growth in Sandy and Draper over the long term. I'm extremely optimistic about the long-term outlook of just this general area because of the access to everything that's here in the tech corridor right here in Lehi. It's only about probably a 15 to maybe 20 minute drive. Even with traffic, you're maybe only pushing 25 minutes to get down here into Lehi. So it's really not that bad. It's a very desirable place to live. And there's also going to be this huge development here in Draper where the old prison site was. So we'll talk about that a little bit more about in a Draper video. I'll do a separate video for that. But for that being said, guys, we've talked about Sandy a lot here. I've kind of rambled on, just giving you a ton of information. I'm just trying to deliver as much value as I can in these videos. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to reach out to me if I can help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate. I love helping people. Please call me, text me, or shoot me an email. My information will be here on the screen. I love hearing from you guys. With that said, catch you in the next one.